The Tennis Gambling Podcast and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our College Basketball Survivor Contest. First place going up to $75,000. Enter today at slysports.com/SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Game Podcast here on the Sports Game Podcast Network. It's currently Friday morning, roughly 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time on March 14th. I'm also Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Time to get into the two matches taking place on Saturday. By the way, these matches are on Saturday, so if you're looking for the semifinal matches on the men's side for Dean Wells, you're not going to find anything today on Friday. It's going to be taking place tomorrow. So we're going to get into both matches. We have the Rune against Medvedev match, as well as the Draper and Alcaraz match. Going to break down both those in a second. For that, though, do remind once again that you can show support for the show by like, subscribing, YouTube reminder. You can also leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. The podcast is available in multiple ways. You can catch it on YouTube for the live stream, YouTube after the fact, or once again, you can get it on audio format only on Spotify or Apple. And no matter how you do consume the podcast, it's fine. Just don't forget you can leave some feedback, and to help the show grow, you can like, subscribe, or leave a rating and a review. Plus, a reminder, you can check out the merch store on the SGPN website. We have a lot of great Tennis Game Podcast merch. We have sweatshirts, t-shirts, and mugs. High quality, different colors, all affordable. Recommend getting yourself something there. And a reminder for the actual promos with the network for this week, a couple of March Madness situations, especially promos with us, because you have the ability to compete against us this March in our $75K winner-take-all college basketball survivor contest. March has never been more exciting. And a reminder, you can enter at splashsports.com/SGPN, splashsports.com/SGPN. Starting off with the actual recap of what happened in the last round. Overall, there's been a common theme in this tournament. The locks are undefeated, so the locks keep doing well. However, we did not win the dog for the second straight episode. We were 1 point away from winning the dog, but that did not work out. For the lock, we had Draper team total over 12.5 against Shelton at -150. That got there, as Shelton did end up putting up a fight, but he didn't do enough to win, as Draper did win in straight sets, but there was a 7-5 in the second set. So nice win there for the lock. For the dog, picked up a loss. We had Griekspoor and Rune first 6 games, 3-3 at +105. We were 1 point away. Rune did have a break point when he was down 2-3. Could not convert, though, and we did end up losing. So we were 1 point away from a sweep. Unfortunately, didn't get it, but we did win the lock again, which has been a good streak for us over the last couple of episodes. So hopefully we'll keep it rolling in the semifinal matches on Saturday. Checking the comment section quickly, I see Logitech mentioning at 2 in the morning, by the way. Shout out for the early, I'd say, comment that Medvedev should destroy Rune. Rune only won yesterday because Griekspoor's level dropped off dramatically. I feel like yes and no. I mean, Griekspoor barely won any points in the second set, but Rune, I thought, did play well. So it was kind of a mix of both, where one guy kind of maintains his level or plays pretty well, and the other guy falls off the cliff. It's tough to fully evaluate it as simply as that, but I do agree for the most part that I do think Griekspoor just imploded, basically, and Rune was able to pick up a free win once that happened. Uneducated, so far enjoying the tournament, and you're looking at Savage, who, points out that Alcaraz's serve wasn't that great. I know that he had to fight off 9 break points. He fought off 8 of them, but he was down a break in the second. So it felt like that there was an opportunity for Cerundolo to win the set. Went to a breaker, and Alcaraz did win anyway. Point is, though, I thought both of the, I'd say, matches, or the two that just got brought up, I feel like those points are pretty accurate, just based on what we witnessed and looking at the actual matches that we ended up seeing in the Thursday slate. So recapping the actual quarterfinals, you had a little bit of drama early, and then it was pretty straightforward late. As you saw, Rune lose the first set 7-5, then he won the next set via bagel. Then Griekspoor won 4 points the entire second set. Then Rune went up immediately a break in the third, and he coasted to a 6-3 win in the final set. Griekspoor's level fell off a cliff. Rune, I thought, played well. He was consistent for the entire match, and Griekspoor was not, as Rune did get the job done there in 3. Medvedev, though, definitely had the match of the day against Fies, as he ended up winning the first set 6-4. You thought, all right, he's probably going to coast because he's made it to the finals here in 2 straight years, and Fies said, you know what, not so fast. I'm going to make this interesting. Won the second set. In fact, he was actually keeping this very competitive in the third set because they kept alternating breaks. You saw Medvedev go up a break early into the third to go up 2-1. Fies broke back immediately. Then Fies went up a break, and then Medvedev broke back immediately. And then eventually Medvedev did win in the final set tiebreak with the missed volley at the net there at the end by Fies. Point is, it was a very fun match. Fies did not have a match point. Medvedev did have 3. So Medvedev was never on the full brink, but being down 4-2 in the final set's definitely not ideal. But he ended up fighting back. He had himself a nice celebration there at the end. He was definitely thrilled to pull it off. Did I think Medvedev looked great? I thought he was fine. I'm going to give props to Fees, though, in the loss because he changed up his strategy halfway through to kind of showcase a unique strategy that he has not really used before against anybody. He was slicing a lot, and I feel like Fees has a pretty underrated slice, but the fact remains he tends to try to overpower people, and he tries to use his firepower to kind of push his opponents off balance. He really didn't do it as much, or I should say he had more balance between the power shots and the finesse, because once he started, I'd say, implementing the slice in the second set, it kind of changed the entire trajectory of the match. Now, unfortunately for him, he fell short, but he still was able to make it very competitive. And it looked like early on, Medvedev was going to dominate the match when he went up a break early. Fees missed that slam to give the break away, and then Medvedev held throughout the rest of the first set. It felt like it was going to be an opportunity for Medvedev to win easily and to kind of coast back into the semis. But Fees changed up strategies, a pretty solid approach by a young player. He did fall a bit short, but I feel like, once again, it's something that he can use for future matches to help his overall, I'd say shot depth or shot variety grow. And I feel like you're looking at Fees, who has been very streaky over the years. His upside, though, is definitely noticeable. And I do think that him adding a potential, I'd say, game plan moving forward, maybe against Medvedev or against others, of using the slice more often, I think can help him in the long run. So I want to point out that Fees, despite losing, I thought was actually pretty impressive. And I feel like anytime you have a plan A and it doesn't work, some people go down with the ship. They're just willing to let plan A ride itself out, and if they lose, they lose. Other people are willing to scrap it and kind of come up with something new on the fly. And I feel like whether it was Fees or his coaching staff, they did a good job coming up with a plan on the fly to frustrate Medvedev. And I feel like the idea of prolonging rallies against Medvedev might intimidate some people, but Fees was willing to go with it. And I feel like, once again, it caught Medvedev off guard, especially in that second set, and he made it interesting. He fell short, but no shame in that. Thought he looked good. And hopefully Fees can continue looking sharp moving forward. I know we're about to be in the clay season, but still, point is, Fees, we know, has won a couple titles already. He won a couple big titles already, actually. But I feel like the consistency can be a bit of an issue. But I do like the fact that he was willing to experiment a bit when things weren't going that well. And I feel like a lot of players wouldn't really have done the same thing. I feel like most people on tour would have just taken the ass kicking. Like, Medvedev would have won in straight sets. They would have said, fine, he's just better than me. And I feel like on the courts in Indian Wells, it's an intimidating ask when you have to go against the two-time defending runner-up. And you tried something new. And I feel like I respect the effort despite losing. He had a chance to win it. He was up a break. It didn't work out. And Medvedev found a way. Props to him, though, as well, for surviving some adversity. And I was surprised by the, I'd say, celebratory outburst that Medvedev had at the end, because he's pretty stoic when he wins. But either way, nice match. Definitely the match of the day. And either way, a point is definitely a fun match to talk about and to kind of rewatch, just based on how the match changed halfway through because of the changing Fee style. Moving on, though, to the next match, you had Draper winning in straight sets against Shelton. Was competitive, wasn't straight sets, though. Shelton, at the end of the day, I just thought was at a disadvantage at every long rally because Draper is a brick wall. And Shelton, we know, can spray unforced errors all over the place. But Shelton made it to the quarters. I didn't think he'd make it this far, to be honest, so props to him for a pretty respectable run. But Draper, he was going to be my lock for the actual money line at minus 150. It went to minus 175. I think it closed at like minus 200. So Draper is just on the warpath right now. No shame in that for Shelton, but he gave it a run. Just unfortunately fell a bit short. I think he had a love 30, actually, in the 5-5 game, and he just could not convert. Then he gave up the boomerang break and then eventually did lose 7-5. So Shelton tried. Draper outlasted him, and Draper to get the job done there. Kind of a similar story here in the last match with Alcaraz and Cerundolo, as Cerundolo put up a pretty big fight. I know his team total is like 6.5 or 7, or 7.5, and he went over that as he ended up winning 9 games. But Alcaraz did win in straight sets. Cerundolo was up a break in the second. He tried his best, but unfortunately for him, Alcaraz was just too good, and he was able to get the job done. But Cerundolo, I thought, played pretty well. I'd say the unfortunate part for Cerundolo was he kept squandering chances because he was 1 for 9 on breakpoint chances. So he had some opportunities to open up a big lead in the second set. Couldn't really do it. And then Alcaraz, when you give an elite player like Alcaraz extra life, it's not going to go well for you. And we saw that again yesterday with Cerundolo. But he played objectively well, at least based on expectations. Alcaraz was minus 1,000 pre-match, and Cerundolo was up a break in the second set. So I thought Cerundolo played well enough to win, actually. He just didn't play well enough on big points. And that was kind of the story there. But Alcaraz won in straight sets, which was really not that big of a surprise. The actual script of the match was kind of surprising. But I think everyone expected Alcaraz to win in straight sets, even though he did go over his team total, and the over in games that get there too. Anyway, point is, though, that's going to wrap it up for the actual recap of the quarterfinals. Overall, pretty good blend of competitive tennis and I'd say straightforward tennis. But even the two straight set wins had competitive sets. You had a 7-5 with the Draper match and a 7-6 in the Alcaraz match. So a pretty good day in tennis in general, and we'll see if the Saturday slate can live up to the hype of for what should be two very good matchups, just based on the actual schedule and the people remaining in the actual tournament. Now, I saw a comment, by the way, from the last episode asking for an update in futures. To be honest, we don't really have much left, so it's not going to take too long. For the actual outright updates, we have nothing except for Alcaraz. We already had a good opportunity to once again potentially hedge out of it if we wanted to, but we're going to keep Alcaraz as that is definitely the choice. A -120 to win the quarter, which already won, so we already had that in our back pocket. But we have him to win the event as well, as Alcaraz to win the entire thing is at about +250. That's all we got. Everything else already lost. Apologies, but the point is Alcaraz is still alive. We already won outright with him to win the quarter, and hopefully Alcaraz can get the job done here at +250. That's it, though. For the outrights, everything else already lost. So apologies there. But time to move on into the preview of the semifinal matches on Saturday. For that, though, I want to remind once again that we are brought to you by Edge Boost, because Edge Boost is partnered up with SGPN, the pre-visit debit card for bettors. The Edge Boost card allows the ability to avoid being hassled by having your card denied at the sportsbook, DFS site, sweepstakes, racetrack, casino. So that will not happen. Your card will not get denied if you use the Edge Boost card. Plus, you can earn $70 per month in cashback rewards by using the Edge Boost card, and your money's safe as the card's FTC insured. And best part, there are no credit checks, completely free. And a reminder that if you do end up signing up for the Edge Boost card, you can also enter our $2,000 bracket contest at sportsgambling.com/bracket, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/bracket. We're also brought to you by MyBookie, because MyBookie is the place to bet in every sport. They have props in every game. You could also use it from a ton of locations, and you could use a deposit with lightning fast payouts with crypto as well, so keep that in mind. A reminder, you can also head to mybookie.ag with the promo code SGPN to get a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Scam Podcast. Finished recapping the quarterfinals. Time to move on to the Saturday matches on, once again, the men's semifinals taking place on Saturday afternoon. So starting off with the first match we're going to talk about, you have the matchup between, let me actually see the order of which one technically goes first. So right now, it's actually not officially listed which match is going to go first. I'm assuming the Alcaraz match will be late. So I'm going to assume the Rune match is going to be taking place first against Medvedev. So starting off, you have Medvedev at -165. You have Rune at +145. For the spread, you have -2.5 for Medvedev. You have +2.5 for Rune. For the over-under, you have 22.5. For the set spread, you have Medvedev in straight sets at +145. You have Rune to win in straight sets at +325. The over 2.5 sets is around +130. Now, coincidentally, they actually faced off in this event last year, and you saw Medvedev win in straight sets. Was competitive, though, as he did win 7-5, 6-4. So it was close, but Medvedev has won 2 of the 3 career meetings, and he's actually won each of the last 2. He won in Rome a couple years ago. I believe that was for the title in Rome, and you saw Medvedev win in straight sets. So you've seen 3 out of the last 4 sets between them, and 7-5, and Medvedev has won all 3 of those. But you've seen Medvedev look good against Rune. Now, Medvedev has been good in the event so far. He's only dropped 1 set. That was, of course, the second set against Fies in that marathon match. He ended up winning on Thursday. Luckily for him, though, there was a day off built in for Friday, so both guys off 3-set marathons should look sharp, as they should have, once again, a lot of time to recover from those long matches. Now, Rune had a pretty weird match against Griekspoor, but he has been dropping some sets. Did beat Griekspoor in 3, beat Tsitsipas in straight sets, beat Humbert in 3, and beat Moutet in straight sets. So comparing the actual level of competition, I know Fies is pretty good and Paul's been good, but I think we'd agree that Paul is definitely not as good, in my opinion, as the likes of Tsitsipas based on current form, and I think Humbert is better than Fies, for example. So I think we would agree that Rune's faced off against better competition as a whole throughout the course of this event, but the point is Medvedev has kind of owned the head-to-head lately, so we'll see if Rune can do enough to actually get over the finish line against Medvedev, or Medvedev is going to get it back to the final, try and take a double revenge against Alcaraz, most likely, in the match on Sunday. So for this matchup, I think Medvedev's going to win. The problem is -165 is a little bit steep, at least for a guy that we know can have some mental, I'd say, letdowns at times. And I think Rune can keep this match competitive. Now, it's tough to go against Medvedev because he has been successful here in the past. And Rune, we know, is kind of a ticking time bomb at times. But I think it'll be close. I think Medvedev is probably going to end up covering. at least the -1.5 games, if I'm picking him to win. It's -145, which I think is more reasonable than the -165. In theory, Rune could win a set in a lopsided fashion to potentially lose a match, but to cover the spread. I don't see that happening. I think if Medvedev wins, he covers the 1.5, so I'll save the 20 cents by taking the -1.5 games instead. But I think based on the head-to-head and based on the historical success on these courts, I think Medvedev's just better off on here than Rune. I think that Medvedev, after beating him in this court last year, I think he's in a good spot to do it again. Medvedev, I thought, played well against Fees. Fees switch up strategies. I see Rune kind of sticking with his usual strategy, and I think that that's going to play into Medvedev's hands. So give me Medvedev to get the job done here. In my opinion, probably in, I'll say competitive straight sets, but it could go 3. But I do think that Medvedev will win in this one. So maybe I'm just going with the classic 3 times in a row final between Alcaraz and Medvedev. But I think Medvedev is a pretty good price here, minus the 1.5 games, -145. I'll take that as my main thought for this match. Moving on. I also don't mind the Medvedev team total over, by the way, at 12.5. I think that there will be a competitive set in there. Just think Medvedev is going to get the job done when the match is actually over. Moving on to the next match, you have Alcaraz against Draper. Now, Alcaraz is -300, Draper's +250. For the spread, you have -3.5 for Alcaraz, you have +3.5 for Draper, plus money. You're looking at the over-under at 21.5 games. For the set spread, you have Alcaraz in straight sets at even money. You have Draper to win a set of -130, and the over 2.5 sets is around +140. Now, for that head history, it's been interesting because Alcaraz has been successful, but it's been competitive. So they've faced off in the Australian Open this year. Draper, I remember, got injured at the end of the first set, so there was a 7-5 win for Alcaraz. Then Alcaraz won 6-1, and Draper quit. But Alcaraz still, once again, had to sweat a bit at the first set as he got the job done. They faced off in London last year on grass, and Draper did win in straight sets. Faced off in Indian Wells 2 years ago, and Alcaraz did win 6-2, 2-0. Draper got injured and quit. Faced off in Basel 2022, and Alcaraz did win in a 3-set marathon as he won 7-5 in the final set. Point is, though, Draper's been competitive against Alcaraz in the past. I know Alcaraz has currently had the success as he's 3-1 at actually winning these matches, but Draper isn't exactly going to go quietly into the night. I think Draper's going to keep this close. Draper and Alcaraz have been great here. They have not dropped a set. Alcaraz has won every set, so is Draper. So I think you're looking at, once again, what should be a pretty fun matchup that features a ton of long rallies. I think Alcaraz is going to win because he's so good at Indian Wells. In fact, he's the highest win percentage of all time in Indian Wells. But I do think based on the actual matchup itself, I think Draper can have moments. We saw Cerundolo find some openings. We saw Alcaraz's serve kind of let him down a bit. Then he was able to win some big points. But Alcaraz left the door open for the opposition to at least make it a competitive match. I think Draper will be more opportunistic than Cerundolo, and I do think that Alcaraz is going to leave the door open, at least for one set, for Draper to maybe win it. Now, Andrew's asking who would screw up a Medvedev and Alcaraz parlay. If I had to give you an answer, it'd be Medvedev, but I think that that parlay should work out. I think for the sake of this matchup, though, I think that Alcaraz will win, but I think it will be competitive. I don't mind the over. I don't mind the over in team total games here for Alcaraz. It's at 12.5 at -115. I think that's a pretty decent option. I think Draper has proven when healthy, he's a top 10 caliber player in the world. The issue is the durability is never there, but he has not dropped a set yet. He has a day off on Friday. I think Draper will look sharp here. I think he will keep it close. I'm picking Alcaraz to win, obviously, but I feel like Alcaraz was viewed as being completely untouchable based on what happened against Dimitrov the round prior. And Cerundolo really gave Alcaraz a run for it. Now, he fell short in straight sets, but I think with the team total, you don't even need Draper to win a set. Like, once again, Alcaraz to win in straight sets at even money, I find kind of surprising. I feel like there might be value on that on principle based on how good Alcaraz is. But it also tells you that the books recognize how good Draper is and how Draper can at least capitalize on some areas where Cerundolo could not. And I feel like that Draper has the overall play style and the overall skill to once again make it at least one set very competitive. And I feel like with Draper constantly having 7-5 sets throughout the tournament against Brooksby, against the likes of Shelton, for example, I'm skipping one in the middle. He also had 7-5 against Fritz. So the point is, Draper's had a couple of marathon sets recently in each of the last 3 matches. We've seen Alcaraz struggle a bit on his serve recently against Cerundolo. Think it'll be a fun match, at least more competitive than people think. I think that Alcaraz will win, but I don't mind the team total over here for Alcaraz for this one. Look at the comment section. see Richie stopping by. I see Greg stopping by too. I see Leonard stopping by. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you have been making some money on the podcast with me. Point is, though, that's going to wrap it up for the actual semis. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Before we get into the actual lock and dog, I want to remind once again that we are brought to you by Rhythm, because Rhythm's hosting an Epic Market Madness party that I'll be at actually in Vegas. All Rhythm users are invited to the First for Watch party Wednesday, March 19th at the awesome Stadium Swim, Circle Las Vegas. Free drinks, plus you get to hang out with the guys from SGPN. Also gets better. Rhythm's having a giveaway, giving away $250 March Madness Future for free to one random lucky Rhythm user. It's okay, though. If you cannot make the party, you can still enter the drawing, so you can still get the free bet without actually attending the party in Vegas. Come by, though, and let Rhythm help you with your bracket. And a reminder that there's a free party plus a chance to $250 future bet when you sign up with Rhythm. Go to sportsgambling.com/party for details. We're also brought to you Underdog Fantasy because it is time for the actual Underdog Pick'em, and a reminder that if you actually want to use Underdog Pick'em, you can pick any sport, and you can also win up to 100 times your money. For the actual promo, though, with Underdog Fantasy, you can use the promo code SGPN. We sign up for a new account, and you'll get a special pick never time deposit offer up to 1K bonus cash on Fantasy promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finish recapping the quarters and breaking down the semis. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Bit of pressure on us. We're undefeated with the locks in Indian Wells, so hopefully we'll keep rolling for this one. For the lock, I'm going to go with a bit of a bolder play. I'm going to go with Alcaraz team total over 12.5 at -115. Caesars at -115, which was a great price compared to the rest of the market. Most books had about -130. Saw some with -140, actually. But Caesars ended up having -115. So I'll take the better price. Now, Draper, like Alcaraz, has not dropped a set yet. So the point is Draper has been playing great tennis. There's a reason why Draper to win 8 sets -130. They're picking a close match, at least compared to what most people think. Alcaraz, though, went over this in the quarterfinal match against Cerundolo, as there was a tiebreak in there. Arguably should have lost the second set. But the point is Alcaraz looked vulnerable after his God mode performance against Dimitrov. And I feel like Draper can keep this match very competitive. Now, you're looking at them facing off this year at the Australian Open, and before Draper got hurt, it was competitive, as Alcaraz did win the first set 7-5. So even though Alcaraz did win that one eventually with a retirement, Alcaraz, though, did get pushed to the brink in the first set, and I think that Draper can find some openings to keep the match competitive. There's a chance it goes 3 sets, but Alcaraz, I do think, will be involved in at least one competitive set. I think 12.5 games, though, is a pretty reasonable number at this price, at -115. I'll go with it as my lock. Give me Draper, in my opinion, to lose in straight sets, but to lose in a competitive set. If Alcaraz wins 7-6, 6-1, that's fine. It doesn't really matter because he goes over the team total. So give me Alcaraz to struggle in one set like the Cerundolo match, and give me Draper to push Alcaraz to the brink for one set as Alcaraz goes over this team total as my lock. For my dog, though, I am going to go with a combo play in the Medvedev match. I'm going to go with Medvedev to win the first set and the match at even money. Medvedev has won the first set in 6 straight matches. He's been a great starter. Rune has been kind of an underwhelming starter. Rune has lost the first set in 2 of the last 3. And Medvedev, I said before, has won each of the last 2 head-to-head meetings in straight sets. Point is, though, when you have a guy who is a favorite of -165, and he's won the first set in 6 straight, his opponent has lost the first set in 2 of the last 3, and Medvedev has won the last 2 head-to-head meetings in straight sets. I think even money is a good price. I think it's a good way of reducing the juice by 65 cents. I think at the end of the day, we're going to get a rematch for the last 2 years again. We're going to get Alcaraz and Medvedev in the final, but I do think that even money is a pretty good way to reduce the juice on the Rune match. So I'll go with Medvedev to get the job done in the first set in the match at +100. So once again, the lock and dog plays for the semifinals in Indian Wells. The lock will be an Alcaraz team total over 12.5 games at -115. For the dog, I'm going to go with Medvedev to win the first set and the match at +100 against Rune. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Back once again for the final in Indian Wells. Until next time, find me on Twitter, Reichel Radio. Find me on the NBA show. Find me on the MLB show as well. Until next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.